Okay, this is my September wrap up. It turns out I read and finished three books in September to my surprise, but September was really, really long. And the first book that I finished reading was Noni Jabavu, A Stranger at Home, introduced by Makosa Zanakaba and Atambile Masola. Now, Masola was my stooge when I was 13 years old, and they kindly signed this copy for me. And yeah, I thought that the columns were interesting, but I did find them to be quite redundant and structurally all over the place. And I have mixed feelings about the signs of class superiority peppered throughout the book, but it's also not surprising coming from an upper class Black person. But I do appreciate the archival work for the most part. And yeah, I have a lot of moral and formalist objections with regards to this book, and I haven't really settled my thoughts regarding it. So I'm going to move on to the next book, which is A Storm of Swords by George R. R. Martin. And this is the first half of the book, which is Steel and Snow. I love these books a lot, and I think A Storm of Swords might be a close second fave in the series. And I really, really love reading Jamie's story. And I like how George R. R. Martin is constructing and deconstructing knighthood using Jamie and Brienne. And they have this really amazing fight scene which functions as a sex scene, and it's honestly George R. R. Martin's best sex scene. Like, they are literally just sword fighting, but it reads like a sex scene. And yeah, and George R. R. Martin doesn't really write good sex scenes in general, and this is his best one. And I also like how he plays with genre in a lot of these books, and how structurally a chapter will differ from the next chapter. And I love the world building and how expansive it is, and that characters die and they suffer, and but at the same time, it's not like a cynical book by any means. And yeah, just always in awe and always amazed with these. And then the last thing that I read and finished reading was Playing in the Dark, Whiteness and the Literary Imagination by Toni Morrison. I'm still going to return to this text because it was very academic. There were lots of bits that I didn't understand. But it's basically about how an Africanist presence in American literature is developed, and how a white identity is also developed. And she looks at like specific like linguistic strategies that classic authors use to develop the white characters, and how they contrasted them with the Black characters basically. And yeah, I think it's like a really important and foundational text. I don't think I'm like explaining it well by any means, so I would highly recommend anyone who's interested in it to go read it. It's quite short, and yeah, I've been having like lots of mixed feelings about how I talk about books, and notice like not a lack of confidence, but I, especially on video, I don't go in depth. And so I feel like I have these mixed feelings because I don't want to take someone's work for granted, because it takes a lot to write a book. And um, just saying something so casually doesn't gel well with me at times. But then I will notice that when I'm having a conversation with someone like in real life, I can get my thoughts across better. But I also think that's just, it comes with how a conversation is reciprocated. And yeah, lots of mixed feelings about everything. That was my September wrap up, and I'm always shocked that I do finish stuff. It's very surprising to me, because sometimes it feels like I'm endlessly reading one thing, and turns out I wasn't, because September was really, really long. Anyway, good night.